Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In these series of videos, I'm going to show you how to use Unreal Editor for Fortnite, also known as UEFN. I will also provide a partial tutorial and tips for Fortnite Creative, because you actually need Fortnite Creative for some parts of the game creation process in UEFN. When you start, you want to go to Island Templates, pick a pre-made island or the default blank map. I have chosen the blank map because I want to create my own island. If you're going to create a map indoors like a Zone Wars game, it may be better to use the blank map, but you can use whatever you think will work best for your idea, your project, your game mode. Make sure you pick a project name besides the default My Project when you do create your map at the very beginning. After you have chosen your map and project name, your screen will look similar to this. So Unreal Editor for Fortnite is a modified version of Unreal Engine, which is one of the premier video game and 3D creation engines in the world. Unreal Editor for Fortnite allows you to create games, islands, animation, and other unique experiences and publish them for other people to see and play in the Fortnite and Fortnite Creative ecosystem. So this series will be a fairly thorough tutorial or walkthrough for UEFN. I'll provide a guide and tips on landscaping, props, devices, memory calculation, and settings. I won't be covering the keyboard and mouse controls in this series. Epic Games already has a good tutorial for controls. So my map that I'm going to be working on, is my objective is to create an awesome battle royale game and island from start to finish, and that's what I'm going to be showing. But you'll be able to use this tutorial for many other types of game modes. So let's get started. One of the things that you'll notice is that there's a section called Outliner on the right side, and then Details. If you do have a second monitor, it's nice to move those two on a second monitor, and that way your main viewport where you will do a lot of your work right here in the center. That way you just have a little bit more room. Keep in mind this Outliner. This is one of the most important tabs. You'll actually do a lot of work on this, and it'll be very helpful for the organization for your project. Up here on this top right-hand side, these are going to be really helpful. This is your grid. I like to use 2 for the grid. When you click here and it becomes gray, that means you've turned it off. You will hardly ever have to do that. This is for rotation. I keep that at 10 degrees. Very rarely will you want to turn that off, otherwise you can have it snap to the rotation that you set. But again, I'd use 10. Hair scaling, again, you can turn that off if you want, otherwise it'll set to that specific choice that you've selected. I do 0.25. And then the camera speed. Normally when you're starting out, you'll do 6. I think that works out really well. And then when you're doing some very precise placement for items, then you may want to drop it down to 4 or 3. Let's zoom out. So first thing we want to do, because I'm going to be using an island, I'm not going to be doing anything indoors, is I want to create an actual landscape. So I want to show the process for that and mention a couple of tips for what Epic says is advised for creating a landscape. All right, first thing we want to do is create the landscape. So go over here, selection mode, go to landscape, and you want to stay in this manage section, new. And so this is where we want to create the size. Epic does have, you can go onto Epic's website, they've got decent documentation, and it'll actually show some of the preferences that they have for the size. And so normally a lot of the preferences they have 63 by 63 quads, and then you can take a look based on the size that you want, what you want for the sections. But what I want to do is 1 by 1 section, and then components 4 by 4. Overall resolution is 253 by 253, so the components are 16. So that matches with one of their recommended sizes. And this Battle Royale map, I want it to be relatively small, and so that's what this should be. And if you end up making it too small and you want to expand it later on, you can. So don't worry about it if you kind of mess up or if it's too small. You can add sections afterwards, so that's not a problem. The other thing is to pick your material. So this is the default, which is the default is this MI_creative landscape. So that's regular creative. click on this down arrow, and you can just search for landscape. And so here's the other landscape. So you can do that regular creative landscape. You can use the Chapter 2 map landscape, the current Chapter 4 map landscape. So any of those are fine, but I actually want to use this one, which is this customizable landscape. So that's what I'm going to start with. So you click on that and then hit create. And so it'll generate. There's the map. You can, we'll go into selection mode, and now we can kind of fly into it to see it a little bit better. So you can kind of see this is what it would look like, and we'll be able to modify it a little bit later on with different terrain, paint, etc., and I'll show that as well. So we created the landscape. I'm going to drop this down to 4 so I can be a little bit slower in my movements. So when we come closer, you'll see that with the default map, there are 2 little characters right here. Those are what are called player spawns. But can you see how, why is the grass waist deep for them? And then when you go down, you can see, oh, well, this is the grid that was there before. And it's nice and flat to the grid, but the landscape is too high. Why is that? Well, that's because the landscape actually is built too high. This will happen all the time, so we actually want to lower it, and I'll show that in a moment. However, we will not need these grids anymore. So what we can do is, and this is where the outliner is so helpful. This is selecting those grids that we had underneath the landscape. Here's the landscape. You can turn it off. This is the view right here. This is visibility. So here's one of the grids. We do not need those. You can click on it, hit delete. It's gone. Here's the second grid. Delete, because we don't need those. They're just there initially to help you out. Delete those. We'll eventually delete these player spawn pads. That's what these guys are. Yeah, so we'll delete those, but it's a nice way to kind of just see what exists. You can get a size for the players as well. All right, let me turn the landscape back on. All right. Now, one of the things that I do want to do is check when this map is actually in-game, what are the directions. So, for example, these are the guys, and in my mind, they're west and east. So when I load up a game in actual Fortnite, I want to know, are they actually west and east, or are they in a different direction? And so to do that, you click on Launch Session. So let me do that, and I'll be back. I forgot to mention, we actually want to put in an item onto the map to get a little bit of an idea for the size in addition to the direction. So let's do that really quick first. So one of the best ways to do that is come down to the content drawer and go into Fortnite. So they've got a lot of different things, but we're going to go into prefabs, and we'll go into, we can put in one of the factories. Oh, there's Flesh Factory. All right, so let's just go ahead and drop that down. Boom. Okay, so now that it's in there, we can zoom into it and look at the door. Can you see this door right here? You see how, hey, what's going on? It looks like half of it is above ground? Yes. Half of it is above ground, and the other half of it is underground, and that lets us know that, yes, the height of the landscape is off, and so that's one thing to help double check, and then I want to make sure that I use that to give me an idea for the size of the map. So when I zoom back out, whenever you put in an item like that, you'll get an idea of, okay, how big do I want the map? And it turns out I actually do want it bigger, so I want to update that. So here on our outliner, here's where the Flesh Factory is. We'll leave that there because we're going to use that to just give us an idea on the direction. And you can hit this little down arrow to minimize it. Here's our landscape. So I do want to go ahead and destroy the landscape that we just created and build a fresh batch to get an idea on the size, or to get one that's a little bit of a better size since we just started. You can add around it if you want to, but since I'm right at the beginning of the map, I'll just go ahead and create a fresh brand new set of landscape. Delete these individual items. Okay, so it's gone. And then you can go here, landscape, and we're going to go to manage, new, just like we did before. And I want to use that customizable one, which I think is already selected, but I'm just going to be sure. There we go. And for the components, I'm going to actually do 5. And we're going to change the 1x1 sections to 2x2. There we go. Let me zoom out. And now that I have the Flush Factory there, I can get an idea on how big of a map do I want this. And that looks much better. So that's a better size. And then I want to double check with the Epic documentation just to make sure that this is one of those that they say is appropriate. So I just want to take a look at that. Okay, based on the documentation, this should actually work out quite well. So I'm going to go ahead and create that, and I think that is the better map size for what I'm looking for. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. And now I have an item that I have built where I can kind of see what it looks like, what's going on with it. So I want to go ahead and, again, here's I go here to selection mode, Flush Factory, and so I want to move that up to basically the north. Okay, now this is where it's going to move a little bit slower, so I'm going to change the camera speed. Go back to Flush Factory. Here we go. And so you can move it right and left, north and south, and then you can raise it above ground or below ground with the blue arrow. And then if you hit one of these other corner ones, these little squares, it will highlight both arrows so you can move it in both directions at the same time. Both directions at the same time. So I just want to do this. Okay. And now I want to save everything and now launch the session to get an idea of what is north, what is south. The other thing you can do is here, the perspective. This is exact top and top perspective. You can also use this for more precise movements. So at least with this perspective, this is on the north side of the map. So this is more of a 3D perspective. All right, so let me save and let me take a look at the directions. All right, so when you load up a game, you want to hit escape, hit start game. Or you can just do it in regular creative mode. But here I am in creative, right? Here's my landscape. There's the 2 player spawns. Look at the mini map on the top right-hand side. I'm facing north, right? I'm facing north. Where is the Flush Factory? There it is. And it's west. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to do this. That way, before you start building everything, you know actually which direction you're looking at. Now that we know what the direction for the map is actually in-game, now we know how we can actually work in the map and look at it the right way. So this is going to be our map. I noticed that the old landscape piece is still there. There we go. So now I deleted it. And then you can also rename stuff. You can just double click on it if you want. Well, click on it once, sorry, excuse me, and you can change it. You can also rename it by right-clicking on it and go to Edit and then Rename. And there's a keyboard shortcut of F2 to also change it. All right, so here's our map. So now we can actually get to work on building it out, customizing the landscape. So one of the first things that you want to do is, I mentioned that, hey, the height is all wrong on it. So go to unselect everything, so we're not gonna make a mistake accidentally, go to landscape mode, and then from there you want to go to sculpt and flatten. And so we want to go to 0, tool strength 1.0, so there's no deviation. It also makes it faster to do so. And then brush size, you can make it as whatever is appropriate for the circumstance. In this case, we want it to be the maximum, which should be 8192. So the 2 circles, that's the tool that you're working with, and we just want to start flattening it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what it's going to do. And I'm just going to click here, boom. And so what that did is it actually lowered the, it can lower or raise the ground to that level. So that's when you have it on both. You can do raise only or lower only. You got a few other items, but we just want to do a lower. And so as I move it around, the ground has been lowered in that spot. So let me go to selection, slow down the movement speed. And so now, can you see how the door doesn't have land going through it? And then as we kind of move forward, can you see how there's this little lip right here? See how the ground raises? And that's because this right here is at 0, and this right here is that higher weird height. So we just want to lower the entire map to 0, and then from there we can continue to work. If you're going to use a lot of the regular Fortnite props, the prefabs, and Fortnite operates in heights of 384. 384. So we're going to 0, and now we're just lowering the entire map. And that will be our benchmark to start from. And then we'll obviously change the height in the future as we start to sculpt it out. But this is one of the first things you want to do. I'm going to go over it again just to make sure I did not miss a spot. It's easier to miss spots when the tool strength is less than 1. There we go. Unselect, go into selection mode, and then if we come down here, these guys, so they've got the right height now. They're not, I remember they were waist deep before. All right, so very good. We've got the height and everything set up, and we can start to sculpt a little bit. All right, let's get our island settings done. There's just 2 things that I really want to update. You know, this is going to be a battle royale map, and so when the game starts, I want to make sure that there is damage for buildings. And so I just want to, it's got a boatload of settings, so you can update these based on how you want your game to be set up. And so I'm just kind of scrolling down to get to the right sections. You can even do stuff like infinite ammo, infinite resources, your max resources that you want to start out with. So I do want people to be able to, you know, break a building with their pickaxe. So pickaxe destruction, default. So there's that. And then I want to make sure that when somebody loads up into the game, they start with their pickaxe. So there's just the 2 things that I want to do. All right, next thing we want to do is we got to put it in an ocean. So unselect all, content drawer, Fortnite, environment, water. There's your ocean. Just click on it, drag, and drop it in. And then you'll look at that and you'll be like, that looks dumb. Why is it weird? Well, you got to give it a second. give it a second to render. And so now we have an ocean. And there we go. So you may think that it covered up the whole space. What's going on here? Well, we have this water body. Here's all the settings on it. And so what you want to do is there's a specific setting right here. Affects landscape. Please turn that off. Boom. So now you can see an ocean set up perfectly. You can see it. You can see the waves. Great. Perfect. That looks good. And then what I want to do is I want to take a look at the height. Here's our ocean body. Yeah, it's at 0. So 0 is basically exactly where the water is. So you can kind of see that the water will kind of cover the land right there at that very edge. You can see it kind of covers it just ever so slightly. Okay, so that's very good. So that's one thing we want to do. The other piece is you can see that the land it just drops off at the very edge, which is of course not really realistic. So we want to drop down some of the borders of our terrain so that the water kind of covers it, and that will be the edge of our map. Very easy to do that. Come over here to selection, landscape mode. We're going to use this flatten tool again. So again, we want to stick with these levels of 384 since Fortnite likes to use that. And so we'll say -384, and we want to put that around the map. And you can come back and change it if you want. So I'm just doing this to give me an idea. There we go. And you can see that, oh, okay, yeah, the water starts to kind of come right up to the edge, and now we have this shallow area. And so we'll have like our game boundary where people can't go beyond that area. So that's perfect. So the center of the map, I actually want a little bit of a mountain. So I'm going to unselect, and where exactly is the... It'll be kind of like right around here or so. And so to create a mountain, you want to go to landscape, and this time around we want to raise, and then pick the height. Pick the height. Maybe 2048. And now we have the flesh factor. We can get an idea on how tall that is. I think I want it taller. I think that's good, and we'll have to customize it a little bit more. So that's very good. And now I would like to have a river. Go to content drawer. It'll keep where you were before. Here's a river. Click it, drag. There's your river. Very easy. Very easy. And this one, you do want to have it affecting landscape. And so you'll see in the settings right down here, affects landscape. And then the trick with this stuff is you got to use this thing right here. Select spline points. See this stuff right here? That's what you want to use. So this is point 1, and once you click on it, you see all these other choices. So that's point 1, that's point 2, and then this should be point 3. So I want the river to actually go north to south, and I want another river to go west. So that's what I would like to do. So you can actually take and move these points. So, you can move this arrow to just move straight to the left, move this arrow to go up or down, or you can use this. So that's what I'm going to do. And so that actually moves the whole thing. And you can see it cuts into the mountain. Which is fine. I do want it to do that. So here's the first spline point, here's the second, here's the third. So this third one, I do want to move that a little bit. And so you can move it in many different ways. If you click on it, it will give you those arrows. And so you can do this. See how I'm kind of extending it out into the water? And you can make it as you don't have to make it straight. You can make it as natural as you want, as curvy as you want. You can raise it up. That'll raise the ground up. You can raise it down. That'll raise it, obviously, down. Oh my God. So, and right here, this is, you can see the location. So you can kind of be a lot more precise, of course. So what's negative 100? What does that look like? Okay. Negative 50. Oh, that looks really cool. Negative 25. Oh, that looks really nice. But a little bit unnatural with that land right there. And some of it, we could just extend this out a little bit farther into the ocean if we wanted to. So you can kind of play around with it. At least that gives you an idea, but I'm going to refine that a little bit later. But I want to, so there's one water zone, or one river. I want another one going south. There we go. And you can select the spline points again. Yeah, and then let's drop the distance there. Okay. I'll obviously play around with it a little bit, and then I want another one right over here. Like right around here or something like that. And so this is to move the object, this is to rotate it. So you can rotate it along this axis, or this axis. This is what I want to do. There we go. And then move it. And then let me select that last. Yeah, this point right here. There we go. And then the first point. There you go. And negative 50. So a lot of the work that you do will be in the outliner and the details tab. So again, that starts to give me a little bit of an idea of where I want everything. And this area I want to be a little bit higher than normal, or higher than a lot of the other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and go to landscape, go into the flatten area. I don't want it as high as the mountain. $2,048, and let's raise this up a little bit. And then I want this area to be high as well. Again, this is getting things placed, getting things, getting an idea of where everything is going to be, and then we refine it afterwards. So I think that's very good. Now, let's make sure that as we're starting to put some things in place, we start to get organized. So, for example, we've got all sorts of stuff with water in it. There's the ocean, the two rivers. You can hit Control or Shift when you're selecting multiple ones to select them all. And then I want to put all of these in a folder. Create a new folder containing the current selection. There it is. F2, water. And we've of course got our ocean body. Fine. Which river is this? So that's the North River. So that's north. Which one is this? That's south. And which one is this? West. Okay. So you can use that to help you stay organized, because as we start to build out the map, you'll see that there's going to be thousands of items over here. And so you want to be somewhat organized so you know what's going on. Okay, this northwest side, I want it to actually look a little bit different, and meaning the material itself, the grass. And so we want to go over here to landscape in the outliner and find the squares that apply to it. So that's one of them. Not that one. That one. Not that one. So that's one of them. And so I want that to look like the chapter 4 landscape. So we have it selected. Here's the landscape material right down here. In details, and so sorry that's not showing up on the screen, but you can select that, and sorry, it's not showing up, and you can just type in landscape, and then there'll be this MI landscape chapter 4. Select that, and can you see? Okay, good, that is showing up. See that? That's the chapter 4 landscape. You see that? Oh, it's got the birds and everything flying around in this thing? Okay. So, obviously, you could use either one. But, so I want it to look like that in this northwest area. And so, what's the next one? Come on. That one. So, same thing. I'm going to scroll down and change this. So you just hit that down arrow in the browse, type in landscape, and MI landscape chapter 4. Boom. There we go. So I wanted to look like that on purpose. So unselect. So that gives that's what I want exactly. So and what you'll notice is like how do you blend these two in? If anybody knows how, let me know. Technically, the way that you want to blend it in is you can go over here into the selection mode, landscape, paint, right over here, paint mode. Oh, come on. Oh, it's preparing the shaders. Bear with me here. Okay, so you go into paint mode. And in this case, you can have the tool strength slightly different. That way it blends a little bit better. So you can pick which one is going to work. Here's the brush size. So these are your different layers that are in there. You can build more if you would like. I'll show you what they look like. Click on paint. Sorry, I clicked on smooth. If you ever make a mistake, you can just go over to edit and do undo. You can undo right there. So I just undid the smooth thing that I did. So you go paint, select the layer that you want. Whoa, 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 whoa. So looks like dirt, right? And then when you move it to the other side, it's a different type of dirt. Can you see that? Yeah. We can do another one. It's like gravel. And then on the other side, it will look different. So the materials will look different, or that the painting layers will look different for each material that you have. And so you'll have to create your own layer to get it to look proper. To get it to match perfectly. Or you can do this workaround that I'm going to do right now. Sorry, it's like building all the shaders while we do it. That way I can show you the difference between the two. And also, I want to see if there's any that actually look similar. That I could use if I wanted to. These look pretty close. There's like sand and that sand. So if somebody had sand right here, and then what was this is the other sand one? If you want to remove a layer or remove some paint, you use Shift. I mean, they look similar, but not exact. Not exact. Yeah. So that's what that so you will notice that. That's a different kind of sand right there. Got some gravel. And it won't do this every time you're painting. It'll just do that initially. So while we're waiting for that, so the workaround so that you don't have this ugly line going right through is, that's why I have the island, the river. I want the river to go by this to help demarcate that area, because then you won't be able to tell. Oh, wow, that looks really nice. Okay. And we got one more layer. What is this? Is that wet? Wet ground? Oh, it doesn't even apply to this. Okay. All right, so now that I kind of get an idea that, hey, these two materials, there's not going to be one that matches up well with the other, and we're going to have this line that comes through. Go to selection, unselect, and let's go to our water folder. We have our North River, and I'm going to move this guy. I want to move him over, the entire river over. So obviously the paint and everything is still there. That, of course, I need to clean up. No problem, no problem. Let's go to the next spline. Okay, yeah, there's the spline point. It's a little bit of an unnaturally straight river. Where's the other spline point? No, there. Maybe we can get that to curve a little bit. Yeah, and then you can create another one if you want. So you can right click anywhere on there and click add spline point here. Right click, click add spline point there, and now there's a new one. So, you can have the river meandering a little bit. And then the last spline point is right there. There we go. And so, you got this chasm that we'll have to clear up. But if somebody's playing the game or looking at it from up high, they will have no idea that there's a straight line down here where the textures change, like they are right here. You can also have the rivers kind of connect to each other. So is this the first spot? Yeah. We can have these guys kind of connect together a little bit. And, well, it doesn't really matter. So then this west river, I need to actually move that too. So I just selected that one, and so I need to move that down here, right, to kind of match up a little bit with, yeah, and we can select this spline point. There we go. Maybe we can curve it up a little bit. Nobody will know. Yeah, nobody will know. So the river kind of hides those a little bit, and then what we can do is we can kind of paint the area underneath the river to indicate that, maybe it's muddy or rocky, whatever the case may be. All right, so I think that's a good starting point. Again, there will be multiple other sessions as I continue to go over this, but hopefully that gives you an idea on some of the initial tips that are important with making sure you select the name, making sure you build the landscape with the size that maybe Epic recommends or what you're looking for, placing in a prop to give you an idea for scale, flattening things down to 0, launching a session so you can see the directions. That way you're building appropriately. That way, let's say that you spent 20 hours and you've got your map set up and there were certain things you wanted on the north side of your island, and it turns out that's the left side or that's the west side of your island, so it helps prevent those things. If anybody knows how to rotate the entire map properly or how to rotate the mini map or the map in game, let me know if there's a way to do that. I could not find a way to do that. So the next thing that we'll go over is actually providing some more detail to the land, right? I've just got some basic structures in, like this area being higher than normal, this area being higher than normal, this area being higher, the areas outside the island being lower. So we need to refine that some more, have some more hills, have some more variation, and then we get to start putting in more props, putting in our POIs, our points of interest. All right, if you like the video, please do hit the like button. If you think I was terrible, you can hit the dislike button. If you want to cover other items, let me know. And if you want to support me more, smash that subscribe button. Fortnite, Unreal Editor for Fortnite. Hopefully this will help as you start to kind of exercise your creativity and see what kind of games you want to build or what kind of maps you want to build. As always, Stream Vibes music playing in the background. You can check it out on most music platforms all over the world. And if you want to use it in your videos or streams, you can. You won't get a copyright strike for it. I own the copyright for it. All right. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.